Real glad Sully here. In this episode, I'm going to do a quick VR to Gribley's 3rd anniversary giveaway. Check it out. I think you're going to like his idea. And I'm going to ramble just a little bit because you know me. I like to talk. Real glad Solar here. Doing a quick VR for Gribley's 3rd anniversary giveaway. Breaking in a Rossi 8320 with a little Amphora Virginia blend. Gotta tell you, wasn't real high in terms of hopes on this stuff, but man, this stuff is good. Also got a little pointer on this break-in, which is why I'm doing it, from Simon on London Calling, and he did a little trick of spreading a little honey on the inside of the bowl, which I did on this before I lit it up, and so far so good. We'll see what the cake looks like. Apparently that helps to create a little bit of a carbon buildup on the inside of the bowl when you're trying to break in a new pipe. This bowl was already coated. I can't stand the coats. I'm very sensitive to that flavor, but I'm giving it a shot with the honey. So far, so good. So Gribley is doing something that I think is fairly unique, and frankly, I appreciate his approach to a GAW. And that is, he's going to do a small giveaway. So if you win his GAW, you're going to get something. But he's also sold a gold tooth. Now, I don't know too many YouTubers yet that I've seen are selling teeth to do a GAW. But instead of giving you the proceeds from that tooth, he's going to give you the opportunity to designate your winning, I believe it was $65, to a charity of your choice, which I think is phenomenal, especially this time of season. So, Gribley, cheers to a great idea and a great way to give back. So he gave us 3 prompts. Check out his video, Gribley's 3rd anniversary GAW, to find out what those 3 prompts are. But he gave us 3 prompts, and the one that I'd choose is, he asked the question, tell me a story about a time when you had to bug out, like you had to leave somewhere. And for me, that's fairly easy. I'm going to take you back to September 11th. You remember the day. It was 9/11. I believe it was 2001, if I'm not mistaken. And I was working for a company out of Kansas City, and I was on location in LA. I worked for a company that did computer systems for colleges. And I happened to be at a college in LA. I believe it was Loyola Marymount, if I'm not mistaken. And it was right after the planes flew into the Trade Center. And I remember the whole morning watching. I woke up early. Of course, it was New York time that everything was happening, so it was fairly early in LA. And I remember watching everything kind of unfold on the TV in the hotel room. And I thought, well, that's on the other side of the country. We weren't really sure what was going on yet. So I went ahead and drove to the college, reported for duty, so to speak. And I started working. And about 15, 20 minutes after I started working, somebody came over the intercom and said they were evacuating the building. And I remember thinking, well, that's not good. because if I remember correctly, and if you're familiar with the LA area, you can let me know if this is true or not, but the Loyola Marymount building was fairly close to LAX. And of course, everything was happening in or near airports or having to do with airports, etc. So they started evacuating the building. Well, come to find out, the reason they were evacuating the building is because at that point there was kind of a mass hysteria and nobody knew what was going on. And one of the administrators that I was working with at the college at the time, he made the comment that the building that we were in used to be owned by Lockheed Martin, which is a military provider. I don't know a whole lot of details, but they provide a lot of services to the military. And because they didn't know what was going on, they did at that point know that it was a terrorist attack. They didn't know exactly what targets were. And so they started evacuating the building. So I called back to the home office and I said, hey, look, I flew out here. They're wanting everybody to leave the building. I can't work. And so the instructions they gave me was, look, you can kind of hang around and see if you can maybe catch a flight later, etc. But if you have a rental car, get in that rental car and drive home. Now, home for me at the time was Kansas City. And so I had to get in the rental car and drive from LA to Kansas City. That's about a 24-hour drive-ish, something like that. So I got in the car, started driving home, and it was probably one of the most memorable experiences of my life. You could literally hit scan on the radio, and this was before iPods, iPhones, all the connectivity that we have now. But you could get in a car and hit scan on the radio and pick up the exact same coverage on every one of the stations. Like every radio station in the country had been preempted by the coverage that was taking place of the terrorist attacks. For me, at the age that I was at the time, that was an absolute unique experience. The other thing that I found that was interesting as I was making my way back to, at the time, Kansas, which is where I was headed. The other thing I found fairly interesting was that as I was driving back, there was like a mass migration of rental cars. Everybody that had a rental car that was in California was driving home. And it was a unique experience because every time you'd stop for gas, there'd be, you just look around in the gas station and you'd see California license tags everywhere. And you'd get to talking to the people next to you and find out that, yeah, they were in the same situation. That, their company that they worked for told them to get in the car and drive home. And at this point, they had already, grounded, the FAA had grounded everything. They'd grounded all the flights. And so it was going to take a couple of days to recover from that. So everybody was just doing the same thing I was doing, which is, driving home, trying to get to our loved ones at the time, because at that time we didn't know what was going on. So that was my bug out story. I was very ill prepared. I ended up staying at the brattiest hotel the first night. I think it took me 2 full days. I mean, I drove straight through, stopped at a hotel, stayed a couple of hours, got some shut-eye, and then finished the drive the next day. But I was totally ill prepared for it. I had nothing but what I was going to use to work. So, a couple credit cards, they came in handy, work accounts, I might add. But it was a surreal experience driving back from LA. 24, it took me the better part of 2 days to drive back. listening to the coverage, listening to everything unfold. It was pretty interesting. But I remember thinking that I cannot wait to get home to see my family, because, you know, at that point I didn't know what was going on. So that's my bug out story. Hopefully that works for the giveaway. If you haven't checked out Gribley's Follies, I think is what he introduces himself as, go check him out. He's got a really good, almost like a radio presence, and he's even got a little microphone in front of him that looks like an old school microphone. So check him out. Again, I think it's great that he's doing the charity idea for a giveaway. As soon as I saw his video, it's the first video I've seen of his tonight. As soon as I saw his video, I knew I had to do a VR, just to support him, his idea of giving to a charity, which I think is great. So that is all I got for tonight. It's Saturday night. It's cold. I'm here in Austin. It's been raining for the last couple of days. Not real great weather, but it is getting kind of late. And by kind of late, I mean it's after 10:30 here, and I got to go duck hunting in the morning. And if you know anything about duck hunting, you got to beat them before the sunshine. So I'm going to sign out. I'm going to say adios. And once again, I'm Rogue Glad Soli. Catch you next time.